Yeah, these announcements these past few days on Syria are rather abrupt. I think they're a little bit out of the blue, and the U.S. government didn't take steps to sort of surface this with, for example, NATO partners or to have a collegial discussion. So it's not entirely clear what prompted this and why it's immediate, why it has to take place now. But it's being met with mixed response from the international communities. You would suppose whenever the U.S. signals sort of a retreat or withdrawal, that's not always a calming or reassuring message.
Absolutely. And I had the chance over the weekend to talk to the special envoy from the United States to the global coalition to defeat ISIS, and he gave me absolutely no indication that anything like this was coming. He said that the fight against ISIS would be something that had to be ongoing. But I want to ask you about the U.S.-China trade spat and what President Trump has managed really to accomplish there, because there have been signs in recent weeks that there may be a better outcome than many had thought to what's been going on there. What's your take?
Yeah, I think so. Look, we don't have a scorecard at this point. We're still just partially into this 90-day window. But I'll tell you what I think President Trump deserves credit for is really putting the spotlight on China, really delivering some shock value. Now, you could say that shock value came through the tariffs, and there's a significant economic cost to the U.S. for these tariffs, so you can question the wisdom of that approach. But boy, I think it did have a shock effect in Beijing, and really did force them to sit up and think through some of their sort of mercantilist and nationalist economic policies and accelerate some of those reforms that they've been talking about, but it moves them in the right direction. Now, we don't know how far they're willing to go in these 90 days, but I also have somewhat of a sense that Beijing will put a few material reforms on the table, reduction in tariffs, improvement in intellectual property, improvement in investment climate, and that Trump can properly say at the end of 90 days he's got something to show for all of his work.
Yes, Frank, that's the question. I mean, how far does Beijing have to go in order for the U.S. president, to sign off on a deal? Because I've also been wondering, when you look at the stock market reaction, President Trump not getting what he wanted from the Federal Reserve, if these markets don't improve into the next year, he's going to start worrying about re-election prospects. And would that make him, do you think, more willing to come to some sort of compromise with China, just in the effect of trying to get an improvement in the markets?
I think you're right. There's a little bit of gamesmanship going on here, which is Trump's got this 90-day clock. He's got to be able to claim some kind of victory at the end of 90 days, and China needs to, I think, take this very seriously and put something on the table. But then I think we just see a repeat of it for another 90 days. So I think we might be into sort of an open-ended sequence of 90 days, thresholds, 90-day deadlines, 90-day improvements, and so forth, where each time, now if you're China, and if that's the world you're in, you're going to play this out step by step. You're going to put a little piece of candy on the table every 90 days to say we'll do something every 90. But the markets will find it reassuring. The tension does reduce. The investment and trade climate does improve. It's always at the margin, but nonetheless, directionally, U.S. and China is moving the right way.
And Frank, I do have to ask you about this deal we got to avert a shutdown, a deal for now, I say, because early February is just around the corner, and many are wondering if this is a preview of what could come on Capitol Hill in the way of gridlock next year. Is the shutdown going to be a big risk early next year, do you think?
Yeah, and you know what, I think President Trump really kind of went the wrong way on this set of issues, if I may say this, meaning he staked the issue around building his wall, which has limited support in Congress, and then he used the shutdown tool as the leverage point for that, and that's got limited support. So in a way, he was playing to weaknesses rather than playing to strength, and he could have, I think, cut some kind of deal for some kind of test funding for portions of a wall, and he could have gotten something that would have allowed him to declare partial victory and moved ahead. And instead, he sort of bluffed on this issue, and the Democrats called his bluff. He had that famous Oval Office meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and they pushed back pretty effectively. So this was a bit of a climb down for Trump. He's still got some funds to play with on the wall, but it kicks the can down the road. I don't think we're going to see repeated efforts of this, because I would tell anybody in the White House, don't use the threat of government shutdown to push a legislative agenda, because the general public, the U.S. public, is not going to respond positively to that threat.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.